Happiest day, beautiful soul. Welcome back to The Media Matters, the podcast where we're all mini mystics learning about the paranormal, the supernatural, and all the things together. And everyone is living their very best zombie life. I'm your host, Chantel, and today we're celebrating one of my favorite days, a good old Friday the 13th. We are going to party by diving into 5 incredible true accounts of people who died and came back. This isn't the plot of a horror movie. It is a reality for some who have experienced clinical death and returned to tell the crazy tale. So grab your cozies, sip your tea, and let's get saved by the bell, shall we? It's a crisp May day in 1999, and Anna, a young Swedish doctor in training, is carving up the slopes in Norway with a couple of her friends. They're all experienced skiers, but sometimes even the pros have their off days. As Anna's zooming down a particularly steep bit, disaster strikes. Anna loses control, and before she knows it, she is tumbling head over heels. In a twist of fate, Anna crashes right through the ice of a frozen stream. Now, Anna finds herself in a situation straight out of a nightmare. She is trapped under a layer of ice that is 8 inches thick, submerged in water so cold it would make any polar bear think twice. Only her ski boots are sticking out above the surface, identifying her location. Anna's friends try everything they can to pull her out, but it is no use. She is stuck so tight. Meanwhile, Anna is fighting for her life in the frigid darkness. By some miracle, she manages to find a tiny air pocket, which keeps her going for just a little while. But time is ticking, and hypothermia is setting in fast. It takes a full 80 minutes before rescuers finally manage to break through the ice and pull Anna free. By this point, she is in seriously bad condition. No heartbeat, no breathing, and her body temperature has plummeted to a record-breaking 56.7 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 42 degrees below normal. Most people would look at Anna and think it was game over. But the medical team at the University Hospital of North Norway wasn't ready to throw in the towel just yet. They had a crazy idea. What if they could warm Anna up from the inside out? So they hook her up to a machine that acts like an external heart and lungs. It basically takes her blood, warms it up, and pumps it right back into her body. For hours, they work tirelessly, watching and waiting. Just when it seems like all hope is lost, something amazing happens. Anna's heart starts beating on its own. After being clinically dead for hours, she starts coming back around. Can you believe it? Following this incredible miracle, it took Anna almost 2 weeks just to open her eyes, and the road to recovery was long and tough. But Anna is no ordinary girl. Not only did she fully recover, but she even got back on her skis. Anna went on to become a radiologist at the very hospital that saved her life. Turns out that in some cases, being literally frozen can actually save your life. The icy water that should have killed Anna actually helped preserve her brain by slowing down her body's need for oxygen. Anna's case has been such a game changer in the medical world. It has completely transformed how doctors approach severe hypothermia cases and has even led to new life-saving techniques. It's 2019, and 20-year-old Michael is working at a construction site in Livonia, Michigan. It was an ordinary day on the job, and he was helping his stepdad with some tasks. At one point, Michael was carrying a metal ladder when it accidentally came into contact with a live electrical wire. In an instant, thousands of volts of electricity surged through Michael's body. The shock was so powerful that it knocked him off his feet and left him completely unresponsive. When paramedics arrived, Michael had no pulse. He was clinically dead. His heart had stopped entirely. Imagine the chaos and fear in that moment. His stepdad and the first responders must have been devastated, but they did not give up. They immediately started CPR and rushed him to Beaumont Hospital in Farmington Hills. And here is where things get even more intense. By the time Michael arrived at the hospital, he had been without a heartbeat for 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Now, most people would assume there was no chance of survival at that point, let alone recovery without severe brain damage. But the medical team at Beaumont wasn't ready to give up on him. They worked tirelessly to bring Michael back, using defibrillators to shock his heart and continuing CPR to keep oxygen circulating through his body. Finally, and miraculously, Michael's heart started beating again. Now, you might think that after being clinically dead for so long, Michael would have suffered some serious complications. But here's the truly incredible part. Not only did he survive, but he also made a full recovery with no brain damage whatsoever. The only physical evidence of what happened were burns on his toes from where the electricity had exited his body. Michael later shared that during those 20 minutes when he had no pulse, he had an out-of-body experience. He describes floating above the operating table, watching the doctors and nurses working on his lifeless body. But what makes Michael's story truly remarkable is what he claims to have seen next. Michael recounts meeting deceased relatives and experiencing an overwhelming sense of peace and love. He describes a bright light and a feeling of being drawn towards it, only to be suddenly pulled back into his body as the medical team successfully restarted his heart. Since his near-death experience, Michael has reported a profound change in his outlook on life and even death. He no longer fears dying and claims to have a deeper appreciation for every moment of his existence. It's January 7th, 2018, in a prison in Spain. Gonzalo, a 29-year-old inmate, doesn't show up for the morning roll call. The guards find him unconscious in his cell, and things quickly go from bad to worse. 3 different doctors are brought in to examine Gonzalo and declare him dead. Gonzalo doesn't have any vital signs, and his body is actually turning purple. Following protocol, they place him in a body bag and transport him to the morgue. During this time, Gonzalo's family is informed of his death, and as they begin preparing his final arrangements, the morgue staff marks his body for autopsy. Fast forward, and the pathologists are getting ready to start the autopsy when they hear something strange coming from the body bag. That strange sound? Snoring. Can you imagine their faces when they unzipped the body bag and found Gonzalo not only alive, but snoring? Turns out, Gonzalo might have been in a state called catalepsy. It's a condition where your body goes into a trance-like state and your vital signs slow down so much that you could appear dead. At the time of the incident, Gonzalo was taking medication for epilepsy, and it's believed this could have played a role in his quote-unquote death. After his unexpected resurrection, Gonzalo was rushed to the hospital, where it took him 24 hours to fully come around. And when he did, his first request was to see his beautiful wife. It's January 2015 in Lake St. Louis, Missouri. John, a 14-year-old basketball player, is hanging out with his friends on what seems like a completely normal day. They decide to venture out onto the frozen lake, probably thinking it would just be a fun adventure. But in a split second, everything changed. The ice cracked beneath John's feet, plunging him into freezing water. His friends manage to get out, but John is trapped under the ice for a whopping 15 minutes. When rescuers are finally able to pull him out, not only is he not breathing, but he has no pulse. It's the kind of situation where hope seems completely lost. By the time John arrived at the hospital, he had been without a heartbeat for 55 minutes. But even knowing that, the medical team proceeded to work to revive John for 2 hours before finally deciding to call time of death. And this is where things take an incredible turn. Enter John's mom, Joyce. When she's brought in to say goodbye to her son, she does something extraordinary. Instead of accepting defeat, Joyce starts praying loudly, desperately asking for a miracle. And that is exactly what happens. Suddenly, and against all odds, John's heart starts beating again. It's like something out of a freaking movie. The medical staff is stunned because they have never seen anything like it. Not only does John survive this incident, but he makes a full recovery. John walks out of the hospital just 16 days later, completely healed. No brain damage, no lasting effects. It's a recovery that baffles doctors and defies medical explanation. It's 2013, and Brighton, a 34-year-old man, has been battling a long illness. On one particular day, Brighton's family happens upon him only to find him unconscious and completely unresponsive. The worst has finally happened, and that is the passing of Brighton. His family is devastated, of course, and starts making funeral arrangements. Fast forward to the day of the funeral. Friends and family are gathered around Brighton's open casket saying their final goodbyes. It is a somber scene with people mourning and sharing memories. But then something absolutely wild happens. As mourners are filing past the coffin, someone notices something odd. Brighton's legs start moving. At first, people thought they were just seeing things. But no, it wasn't a trick of the light or someone's imagination running wild. Brighton was actually waking up in his very own coffin. Chaos ensued, and people started screaming and running around in utter shock. Once everyone was able to calm down a bit, they rushed Brighton to the hospital, and it turns out He wasn't dead after all, just in a very deep death-like state that fooled everyone, including the doctors who had declared him dead. Brighton later said that he had no memory of the 2 days between his quote-unquote death and his dramatic awakening at the funeral. One minute he's sick at home, the next he's waking up to find himself dressed for his very own funeral. Talk about a plot twist. And that is our short but sweet and always exciting special edition Friday the 13th episode. I am so obsessed with Friday the 13th. I don't know what it is. It just reminds me of like those fun childhood memories where you like get together with your friends and you have a little pizza party, you watch scary movies, tell scary stories and all the things. And I carry it with me still. I just love it. It's so special. That aside, I really hope that these stories sparked your curiosity and maybe even challenged your beliefs about life and death and all the things in between. Just remember that the line between life and death may be more blurred than we once thought. If you enjoyed this episode, and I really hope that you did, please follow for more and share it with the ones you like and love because sharing is caring. Until next time, this is Chantel with The Media Matters, reminding you that sometimes the most extraordinary truths lie just beyond the veil of our everyday reality. Stay curious, my friend. See you next time.